you guys. How are you all? Thank you guys for being here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I've just sitting here been jamming out to Cardi B for the last couple minutes. Was getting ready to go live. I might be out of breath because my mom called. She's like, "Do you want a warm muffin?" So my ass booked it over there as fast as I could. But I'm here and I'm cheer, and I have some things I want to talk to you guys about. Actually, I was down so many true crime rabbit holes last night. Like, it was so interesting and I could not get out, and this was one of them, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it. So that's what we're going to do. Um hey Kimberly, hey Jay, hey Kelly, hey Amber and Johnny. Good to see you guys. Those new docs are insane. I haven't even got through those yet. I Olivia on TikTok, and I watched last night Brian Enton with Olivia, but then I was led to her TikTok, which then I saw Law and Crime out this morning. At the end, we may talk about a rabbit hole I went down with Kata. Like, this girl that knew Keon King, the suspect in that case, remember the young lady from Philadelphia? Um, she had information. Like, the guy had called her the night before asking all these questions, or not the night before, right before, asking all these questions about Kata. And like, she wasn't going to go to police, and she stood firm on that and was out on social media like, what do police need this info for? Like, I don't know, it's very interesting. It's a whole lot, but maybe we'll go through that today. We're here to talk about Koberger. What a monster he is, and this is pretty tough stuff, but I will say the family wants this to be talked about. They want people to discuss it because there's a lot of misinformation that goes around in these cases. I think I forget because I sit in a circle that's very fact based. Like, me, the friends around me, we really care about the facts. And we're not going to run off with too many conspiracies, right? We might a little bit, but it's got to be based around the facts. But you forget social media is just crazy with this case, especially. I cannot believe all the rumors and the things, and even like Dateline, we've talked about it, the misinformation that even places like Dateline have put out. So, all right, so we're gonna go. I thought, a lot of people don't watch TikTok. You guys may never see this. I was mind blown, and I don't know what to think about the monster that is Brian Koberger at this point, and I really want to have a discussion about that after. So, which kind of ties in. Jen and I have for a long time supposed to have been talking about Koberger and his similarities to other serial killers and stuff, and maybe we'll do that. And I think this brings an element that was unknown. I hope Bendy will come by. Hey, Mama Bear. I don't know if I said hi to you. And hey, Julie No E. I did watch a little bit, Kimberly, but not too much. I'm not super knowledgeable. I just dabbled a bit. Okay, you've never used TikTok. Oh my gosh. Well, good thing I do, and I'm going to bring it to you because Olivia went out on her own TikTok. It's got about 600,000 views now. Whoa. I'm sorry. Liz, that's what I was listening to. What the F is going on is right, though, with this. Like, because I don't even know what to think. I don't know. We're going to listen to it together and we'll talk along the way. But like I said, who is the monster that is Brian Koberger? And what was this really about? Because with this and the other interview she does, we find out some things that, for instance, and let me just say before we go, people have often wondered who was Brian Koberger there for lack of a better way to say that? Was he there because he had some sort of obsession with Kaylee? Was he there because he had sort of obsession with Maddie? Many people thought Maddie. And then Steve came out and he said, well, we think it was Kaylee because X, Y, and Z. There was no blood on this door. And, it seems like he went to Kaylee's door first. It really appears that it may not have been that at all. It may have been just the idea of this house full of young college girls. And like I said, we'll get into it. Let's just play. We'll start and talk along the way. Hey, Lacey. Yeah, my thought is maybe she's doing like some Well, number one, they've been through a lot of trauma. So that aside, I think she just looks different than we saw her at first because maybe she's done some kind of weight loss thing or something and she's lost a lot of weight. She was pregnant, if you guys remember when we first saw her, and maybe I don't know. I don't want to speculate on that though, but I hope she's doing okay. I can imagine how this would be incredibly just hard on your entire body, inside and outside. So, okay, here we go.
But in regards to some descriptions of autopsy photos that the state had planned to introduce as exhibits, I just wanted to offer a little bit of my perspective that maybe will help lessen some of the speculation.
So I want to offer some of my perspective to help lessen the speculation, like I said. She writes here, thoughts on why you should not and even maybe cannot speculate on the state's exhibit list. So now there are things coming out with their exhibits, with witnesses being called, things like that, which have been coming out since the beginning, but more and more constantly. And it says, autopsy photo descriptions plus what Kathy Mabbitt really said regarding the sleeping and not sleeping. Which, remember, she was full of misinformation. I won't even get into that because her descriptions of the wounds don't make sense with even what Kaylee's about to describe. But whatever. With what Alivea is about to describe. Forgive me for that. With Kaylee on my brain. About Kaylee. Let's hear what she says.
I need to be very clear. I'm not talking anything specifically about Maddie, about Xana, about Ethan. I don't know anything specifically about them at all whatsoever. So I can only talk to my experiences regarding Kaylee's autopsy and questions that I've had for investigators and everything like that. So I just want to make that really clear. And there's really no easy way to say this. The gag order protected an absolute fucking monster. It's disgusting, but some of the wounds that were made to Kaylee were described as experimental. So a wound that might typically, in its presentation, look defensive might not have necessarily been defensive because at some point he was inflicting wounds that, I mean, any logical person would know wouldn't be fatal. So I don't want to speculate on what exactly he was doing, whether it was to, just cause pain or whatnot.
Okay, so pause. There's a lot there. This is hard for her to talk about. Again, they've been through the ringer. And if you have siblings, you could only hope that your sibling would care as much about your life, right? And justice for you and something like this happening to you. At least I feel that way. But let's take in what she just said. Hey, Jay Kismet. So it seems so much worse of a crime than they wanted us to know about in this gag order. So she says some of the wounds. All right, let me backtrack for a second. Alivea went to meet with the prosecution with one person from the state police, one from the Moscow police, and with the prosecution. She wanted clarity. She went alone. She flew in to Idaho. She said that, I can imagine that she would take a back seat to her parents in a lot of those meetings prior to this, and their questions and their concerns would be at the forefront. Well, she wanted an opportunity to talk to them directly herself. And can you imagine how that must have felt for her? When I was listening to this, I just thought, I don't know. I'm 36 years old, and if I could get on a plane, which I've never flown before, but which I would do it for your loved one, you would do anything. But imagine how that must feel, the nerve, the courage, the strength. You get on a plane by yourself and you go to a meeting and you're going to probably see pictures of your loved one in ways that you never wanted to see them. So she goes and she sits down to get this clarity, like I said, and she does see one picture, which Maddie is fully redacted. And we'll hear about that at some point in one of these videos. But she sees I guess there are a bunch of photos because it appears News Nation got these photos as well. And some of the wounds on her sister, she said they seemed almost experimental. Some of them took place after she was not fighting back anymore, and they were not wounds that would ever take someone's life. So what was he doing? Was it to cause pain, like she speculated? I don't know. Oh, okay, Julie. I'll check it as soon as this is over, and thank you. She saw some of the autopsy photos because the prosecution couldn't promise they wouldn't get leaked. Yep. She said, if they're going to get leaked, if you can't promise me that I won't stumble across them on social media, like I want to see them now. And she saw one. So let's keep listening.
But, yeah, these wounds didn't necessarily make a lot of sense. They were described to me as experimental. And on Kaylee specifically, there was evidence that he continued the attack after she was no longer even fighting back. So just in light of that, just because there's a wound on a hand or a wound on a forearm or a wound on a wrist, these really, really classic defensive places, unfortunately we just can't make that assumption.
How would they know, though, if a wound was a defensive wound versus something after the fact, which I know after the heart stops they can tell because of the bleeding, but oh my gosh.
Each day gets a little low.
Sorry, so I have to keep this really brief, but
hey, Tess. Ooh, Kelly, that's a good point. Was it to throw off the investigation? Like make detectives think they were defensive just to blur things?
Any logical person would know wouldn't be fatal. So I don't want to speculate on, what exactly he was doing, whether it was to, just cause pain or whatnot. But, yeah, these wounds didn't necessarily make a lot of sense. They were described to me as experimental. And on Kaylee specifically, there was evidence that he continued the attack after she was no longer even fighting back. So just in light of that, just because there's a wound on a hand or a wound on a forearm or a wound on a wrist, these really, really classic defensive places, unfortunately we just can't make that assumption. And even if they were, the body reacts and there's reflexes to protect your face, your head, your neck, it doesn't mean that someone wasn't sleeping beforehand or was just briefly woken.
And again, because of Kathy Mabbitt, her, in the beginning she said everyone was sleeping in bed. There was like one wound. I don't remember exactly how she said it, but basically everyone's sleeping in bed and there was like one major wound, which we know isn't true. And why would she ever say that? I don't understand. I get the girls were in bed. Ethan was in Xana's bed. He was kind of crooked on the bed, not as if he was like sleeping that way all night. Maybe if he just laid down and fell asleep there. Xana's in the floor. We have, evidence of a fight all throughout around Xana's room. I don't know. But keep listening.
So yeah. Yeah. And also I want to add just really quickly, I don't want to fucking be doing this. But
right.
No one on the state side is standing up and giving details like this, and I get it to some extent.
I'm sorry. Like, for real, I appreciate her because she's right. And the Goncalves has spotted this from the beginning. And I think because they were a victim to it, all of the freaking a victim to the rumors, the lies, the conspiracies, and the bullshit. Remember, they had to sort through all of that too. And there were times where, like when Steve was questioning about Jack S., about Hoodie Guy, and had he left the country on national TV. So they get it. They get sometimes, like, it's so frustrating, the misinformation and the conspiracies and the bullshit. This is bad enough, The situation is bad enough. We have 4 young people who lost their lives. We have a monster in prison the rest of his life. I mean, absolutely, he's such a monster. I don't even think we have any idea of how sick he truly is. Bad enough situation. Both of them have families that have to learn how to cope and move on somehow. If everything was clear, if there was a clear idea of the evidence and what happened, that would cut down on the bullshit. It would. And that doesn't do anything to honor these victims. That's why I decided like I wanted to do this. Not the honoring the victims part, but the conspiracies and the bullshit on social media. Like, because I had vowed to myself I wasn't going to talk about this case anymore. Because it gets pretty nasty. The chats get nasty. The rumors get nasty. People just say things about the surviving roommates, and it's just so frustrating. But then I was watching this last night and this morning, and I was hearing like she's frustrated with the misinformation too. And I thought, well, I'm going to play it. A lot of people don't watch TikTok. She did, however, go on News Nation, and we're going to go to that next. And Brian Enton, which let me get my phone because I took notes on that. I listened to that yesterday and took notes. So let's listen to the rest while I get that.
But it's creating like massive amounts of chaos. And I'm tired of ignoring it. So yeah.
So, it was late at night or early in the morning. So it seems likely that maybe they were sleeping.
So I have to keep this.
And it appears she might be frustrated with Kathy getting some of the hate she's gotten.
So I have to keep this really.
Or early in the morning.
She says she never states anything with certainty. She makes an assumption based on the time of the crime. She even doubles down on her uncertainty by using language like seems likely or maybe.
And I'm tired of ignoring
And there's
it.
one more she writes that goes off the screen pretty quick. So let me try to.
So.
You weren't lied to, but the gag order prevented the truth from coming out sooner. I don't like it either, but it doesn't mean anything nefarious. Oh, I'm sure the people online are even accusing her of doing this and framing Brian. That's how these people are, especially the pro-burgers. I'm sorry, you guys need a fucking reality check. You need a reality check. Hey, hippie chick, good morning. I swear I'm happy this morning. Excuse me. Just a little sick, a little cold going on, and a little frustrated, but okay. So my little notes from the interview with Brian Enton on his YouTube channel. If you're not following Brian Enton's YouTube channel, what are you doing? Don't get stuck in the rut of the meaningless bullshit, the lies, the conspiracies, the misinformation, the true crimers who come on and they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even have a plan. Don't get lost in that, listening to some of these big cases. Go over. I'm telling you, he's doing a fabulous job, and I think he posts every day. And you know it's the facts. You know it's not bullshit. You don't have to wait an hour for him to get his shit together to present you with the information. Go check it out. If one of the mods tests, will you drop Brian Enton's link for me, pretty please? You're just the first name I saw, and thank you. He does a great job. If you like true crime, you're missing out if you're not subscribed. So he does a long interview with her, and maybe we'll listen. I don't know. We'll see. But before we do, I want to show you what happened on News Nation, and I'll read to you the notes I took from the Brian Enton interview. First of all, in which I have a picture, thankfully, thanks to Tess. The first thing, she talks about, they are now in their forever urns, Kaylee and Maddie. And Maddie's mom will get 2 of them, or, one of each. And Kaylee's family gets 1 of each. Let me make sure I have that picture to send to you guys. I literally sent it to myself yesterday to show you again, but I don't guess it went through. But I think it's important, so I'm going to grab it really fast. Okay, I've got it. Now, the next thing was October 6th is when she had this meeting. Okay. She flies alone to meet with prosecutors. She said she felt it was important to be able to dictate the conversations and get the answers she is personally looking for, not what her parents are looking for. Hey, teacup. She said it was really traumatizing. This meeting was extremely traumatizing. Again, prosecution team, 1 Moscow Police Department police officer and 1 Idaho State police officer. But she did walk away feeling very satisfied. A lot of her questions were answered. Talk about motive, and still not really any motive, but she did see the cast data and that it didn't, the 20 sometimes that he was there don't line up with one person being there. So she speculates it has something to do with location, like I said. But now we talked about this. She got to see, they put together all the video footage from camera to camera to camera all across town, to show his movements, right? And she got to see that all put together. She said it's extremely comprehensive. It's crazy the way that what they would have presented and the information they had. It probably would have been a good case, in my opinion, the way she describes it. Extremely comprehensive every step of the way of his route. She did see one photo of the scene because, she had the fear she might see it online. They couldn't promise her she wouldn't. And Kimberly, I saw your comment earlier, and I agree with you. That's a big problem. But I think, the people that we hire to be police officers, judges, attorneys, they're human. So it happens. She made peace with the deal, though. Now, this was like the full circle moment that I noticed, and this is the end of my notes, and we'll get into these. She has made peace with the plea deal because now they understand it's not just about one family. It's not just about one victim. It's not even just about all the victims and all the families, the cases, but the trial is not, right? It affects the jurors. Some of these jurors, it could cause extreme trauma and they may see things they'll never unsee. It affects the attorneys, the witnesses, the judges, the families. And she did recognize that and say that it was bigger than that. And she has made peace with it. And she understands. So I thought that was really worth noting and important to say, because we all talked about so much when they were furious with the agreement. So I think we have to talk about when they're pleased and when they understand that it's bigger than that. So here is from the Goncalves family Facebook page. They said, Kaylee and Maddie's urns. Karen also has 2 urns. That's Maddie's mom, for both girls. We're going to split the crematorium on Wednesday. We're going to the crematorium on Wednesday so they can split them. I will have a Kaylee urn and a Maddie urn. Karen will have the same. We are splitting them, not mixing them. So. Yeah, the families, the students, law enforcement, jurors, reporters, you're so right. So many more than we realize would have been affected by the trial. Would we have seen evidence in black and white that could have shut down a million conspiracies? Yes. Would that stop the idiots that run with that shit? No, I'm sorry, it wouldn't. So, okay, now we're going to go over to News Nation. Sister of Koberger victim says some wounds possibly inflicted by death. But there are other things in this besides just these experimental wounds, which I still cannot get over. Was this the first time Brian Koberger ever took a life? And if it was, then Kaylee and Maddie would be the first, right? If that's the case, was there a moment of kind of basking in it and just, I don't know. Well, I don't know what the hell was going on. Hey, Nicole B., good morning. So Alivea Goncalves says she was told that some of her sister Kaylee's wounds, first thought to be a result of her trying to fight off the killer, may have actually been inflicted after her death. Alivea posted a TikTok we just watched about how the list of exhibits the state planned to use if Koberger had gone back to trial showed that some of the wounds actually happened after Kaylee stopped fighting back. News Nation obtained those exhibits, which included 26 separate photos of the wounds found on Kaylee after her murder. How did News Nation obtain those? Or were they redacted? Like, that's so unclear. Maybe we'll hear something about it in the video, which I did listen to, but I don't recall. But I could have missed it because I was listening all through the night. I don't want to speculate on what Koberger was doing, if it was to cause pain or whatnot, but these wounds did not make a lot of sense, she said in the video. Again, we just watched it. Alivea told News Nation she thinks Koberger had 3 times as long as he would have needed to commit the murders. Now, this was interesting to me, too. So many people were like, how did he do this in such a short amount of time? Did he do this in such a short amount of time? Like, compared to what he would have needed? And Alivea seems to think the exact opposite. She also acknowledged that her face-to-face meeting with prosecutors was traumatic and emphasized things may have been smoother if they had arranged previous meetings. Goncalves said that prosecutors told her that more court documents will soon be revealed, but they haven't gotten everything from the state or the FBI. So let's just watch the video. Oh, wait, before we get into it, I have to talk about this first. Brian Koberger refusing to pay compensation to victims' families. Koberger is refusing to pay compensation to the families of the students he murdered, according to court documents. According to the Daily Mail, Koberger's defense team argued he should not have to pay the extra money requested by prosecutors on behalf of the families of Mogan and Goncalves because they received money from the public through GoFundMe. What? So because the public helped them, he shouldn't have to pay? I do not get down with that. Yeah, I'm sure that you could go straight to the docket and read in full exactly what they said. His defense also pointed out he has no way to pay because he's in prison. Quote, the additional funds sought do not qualify as an economic loss under Idaho Code 1953-04 because Steve and Christy and Karen received extensive funds through multiple GoFundMe campaigns that specifically asked for and covered the expenses sought. The court document said, Koberger has no ability now or in the future because he's serving 4 life sentences plus 10 years consecutively. Under the terms of the plea deal, he agreed the prosecution could seek restitution for the families to cover funeral expenses and other costs. The day he was sentenced, he was ordered to pay $259,000 in criminal fines, $20,000 civilly for each of the families, and nearly $29,000 through the Idaho Crime Victim Compensation Fund. The state also filed a motion, now this was interesting, in late September, seeking an additional $20,000 for Goncalves' parents and more than $6,900 for Mogan's mother. I need to see the filings. I'm sure people will use that very little this one statement to attack the families. Why do they need money? Blah, blah. I encourage people don't do that. Just wait. There's more information needed. I know it's going to happen though. Watch and see. Probably already happening. And yeah, it's just an unfortunate fact at this point that News Nation wrote it in the article like that, especially without more information. So let's go to the video.
want to bring in my colleague, Brian Enton.
Hey,
Brian,
Alicia.
you talked to Alivea, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys went into depth about that TikTok post. I'm still slightly unclear about what experimental means and how she learned or heard that term.
Yeah, so it seems this is something, Ashley, that she was told when she had this meeting with the prosecutor, with Bill Thompson, and also with law enforcement. And she went by herself, by the way. It's something she wanted to do by herself. So, she lives in California. She flew to Idaho and she went by herself to sit at a table with all of them and get her questions answered. A lot of them still don't have answers just because, we don't know the motive. There's a lot that the prosecutor just doesn't know.
Again, super brave of her, but also I would do it. I would need the answers too. I'm that kind of person. I want to uncover everything. I want to flip over every stone. I need to know it all. And I don't care if it's good, bad, ugly, whatever. I just need to know the facts of the situation in any situation, whether it's something little or extreme. If it's involving me and especially my family, my closest loved ones, and if it, God forbid, if it was something like this or not, I would want to know all the facts. So, as scary as that might be, I would do it too. Except that'd be a little different. Now, I don't know. This could change being your own loved ones. I feel like I'd want to see every picture. I want to see every inch of everything. Number one, because you would have some sort of control over when you saw it for the first time. And I think that would help some. And then number two, just to have the full picture. I think every little detail changes things, right? Like this little detail, Koberger, some of these wounds were after she stopped fighting back, were not life-threatening. There was no reason to do it other than him just experimenting or whatever, that changes things.
But she did get a full list of wounds, and I think the presumption initially was that that a lot of these wounds came because Kaylee was fighting back against Brian Koberger. And it seems now that may not be the case. Some of the wounds, and it's sort of just like disgusting to talk about, but when she says experimental, some of these wounds may have been Brian Koberger just stabbing in places and just almost like experimenting in a way, and some even after Kaylee was already dead.
Kim. Exactly.
So
Before
basically
it's leaked.
just sadism, just a sick person doing even sicker things after he had done the sickest thing. And that was just, but I'm curious about the amount of time that he had in the house. It's like, I think it's hard to know exactly when he opened the door. All we know are the accounts of when they heard things in the house and when he was driving out of the neighborhood. But it's, it's roughly about 20 minutes. Was there even enough time for him to, and I hate to use the word, but it would be his sadistic description, play with his victims and do those things after he killed them?
But that's what I was thinking too. Like, even though that word just makes you sick to hear it, that's like the way that I saw it as well. Like, he's just, like, if it was his first kill, I don't know. I need more information. Hey, PB&J, I would want to know everything too. If my loved one had to live it, I'd want to know. Exactly. That's how I feel too. And I think about that with a lot of the cases we talk about too. I think that it's important to talk about even the bad things and every detail, because even when it's hard to talk about, if you decide to be a creator who talks about this kind of stuff, because if they had to live through it and you're going to talk about it on social media, you need to do it accurately and fully encompassing, right? Like, talk about it all.
Yeah, it seems there would be. I mean, we, like you said, we don't know the exact
You do,
time
Lacey.
frame, but we know
I
that
think
he was
so
in the
too,
house
probably.
between roughly 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. Granted, we don't know how long it took for him to get in and out and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it seems there would be enough time for him to do that, and it's pretty disturbing to think about.
And Lacey said she thinks
so
it is his first kill. So
in the face-to-face meeting that Alivea had with the prosecutor, man, this is a long time coming, right? There's just been so much they've wanted to know, and they've been left in the dark with the rest of us, and it just feels so unfair to victims. I understand why, but did she come away with the meeting, from the meeting with the prosecutors, with a better understanding of their process or who they are or what they were doing? Because there was a lot of acrimony there for a long time.
Yes, she did. And I think they almost sort of came to terms with each other, at least for her. I think she left with more
Let me just
respect.
pause for a moment. Do you guys just want to listen to that full video with her? Because, like, hearing them talk about, I have it right here. I think I just have to. No, I have it right here. It's already pulled up. Because I was watching Law and Crime as well this morning. I think I didn't finish this. So there may even be some I knew.
Hey guys, thanks so much.
If you came in late, I read some notes off in the beginning, and that was based off this video. So we might as well just watch this, because they're just talking about his interview with her. I think that
For checking out my show. I really appreciate it. Please click to subscribe. I just finished a long conversation with Alivea Goncalves. She, of course, is Kaylee Goncalves' sister. Kaylee Goncalves is one of the victims. I think a lot of people want to know how you're doing. A lot of people haven't really heard from you since right after the sentencing, and your just really impactful victim impact statement.
Let's just take a minute to remember that victim impact statement. I'm going to let it go for a minute or two without pausing. I'm going to try. It's so hard. I have a lot to say and I have a lot of thoughts, and I want to talk to you guys about it, but I know that gets annoying, and I want to listen with you guys too. So I'm going to try not to pause. But that victim impact statement was chef's kiss. So good. It was just so good. I cannot imagine. And Steve's too. All of the statements were great. But I loved both of theirs.
It's almost been 3 months now. So I just wanted to start off asking sort of like how you're doing.
Yeah, it's always good to see you too. I think it's hard every single year when the seasons start changing and it starts getting colder. It's like your body remembers. So the seasons changing is hard. Then the daylight savings is really, really hard. And then kind of inching up to that date. And it was just a really, really heavy year, and kind of took a lot emotionally from us, because it was a lot of preparatory work to get to trial, just for it to go to plea deal so quickly. And then everything after that just happened, so fast. So there's a little bit of a whiplash aspect, and then just a lot of, almost the come down from this, emotional hardening I almost had to do to kind of prepare myself for trial. But overall, we're doing okay. We've taken some next steps. Kaylee and Maddie are in their forever urns now, which was a huge step that we hadn't been able to do before. And we're finally able to kind of try to get some of those answers that we've been craving and put together, this picture.
Okay, so first, I just want to say I can totally relate to that. A certain time of year that just you're reminded of a loss, and everything about that time of year. Like for me, there's a loss actually in 6 days coming up that just has devastated my world. The last 2 years have not been the same. And as soon as the weather changes, as soon as the mornings, like, how during the summer you can wake up in the morning and there's not like that chill in the air, but there's something that switches in autumn. And as soon as that happens, like all of those feelings rush back. So I definitely understand that. There was another thing she was commenting on.
The story in our minds, and hopefully,
to say, but,
be able to make some sense of what happened, because
it was something about court, and now I lost my train of thought because that knocked me off so much. But yeah, so this is that time of year for them. We're coming up on November, and yeah.
We were locked out of that information for so long.
Yeah, and I had dinner with your parents the other night when I was in Idaho,
Yep.
and they
Yes, I
mentioned to me, "Oh, Olivia is going to meet with the prosecutor." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And they were like, "Yeah, she's going by herself." I'm like, "She's going by herself? Like that's so intense." So I know you flew to Idaho. I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, so that was October 6th. And I, I, I love my parents, but I am an adult too. And it's difficult for me to kind of be a grieving sister in the room with them because I let their grief overshadow mine, right? They're grieving parents. They lost a daughter. I hope to God I never know what that feels like. But sometimes it makes it difficult for me to find a place in the room. So it was important for me to be able to, kind of be able to dictate and to get answers that I'm really looking for. Not help my dad or help my mom or play this like weird median that I would often play in these prosecutor meetings. So yeah, I met with members of the prosecution team and a member of the Moscow Police Department who was an investigator, as well as the Idaho State Police, an investigator from the Idaho State Police.
And so you just went by yourself?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm shaking.
Oh my God. She's still nervous, just even talking here. Oh, does anybody know where these new documents dropped, like the latest ones you guys are talking about? Because when I look on Moscow PD on the Coburger tab, I don't see anything new.
I went by myself. I had my attorney there. She's a local LATAW attorney and who was just kind of helping me with the documents as they're coming out to be able to make sure that we all get those.
Good morning.
But yeah, it was a really traumatizing meeting. But it was a necessary step for me to be able to basically be hurt behind closed doors so that I could manage my expectations going forward. Yeah, I'm not sure if I totally answered you there. I'm sorry.
No, you did. So is it just, I'm just trying to like, I guess, visualize it. Do you just go into like a conference room and it's you and then Bill Thompson and Idaho State Police just all sitting there basically?
Yeah. So it was a conference room at the Idaho State Police District 2 quarters in Lewiston, Idaho. I drove down early in the morning from my parents' house in Rathdrum, Idaho. And there's, me on one side of the table and them on the other. And I really wanted it to be an open-ended conversation where the investigators were kind of able to provide me how it kind of unfolded for them, because I've never really gotten their opinions. I've never really heard their thoughts on it. I've never, really humanized them in a way to understand.
Speed it up a little because the first part we've kind of touched on everything from my notes. We'll still let it play, but if there's something that we need to hear again, I'll change that.
What it looked like for them, because this was their life day in and day out for 7 weeks, and then after. And yeah, it was nice to hear that real human aspect of them, and kind of what it looked like from the inside out, because I had only had the perspective of being on the outside.
Were you able to get any of your questions answered?
Yeah. A lot of the questions that I had were answered. Doesn't mean that more won't come up as more comes out, but I was very satisfied at the end of the meeting with, I mean, as satisfied as you can be. We're not talking about, a recipe here. At the end of the day, it's still murder, and it's still the death of, my sister. So there's not really positivity there. And I don't even want to say that there's closure, but I do think that it helped me immensely to be able to have these pieces put together for me to help me make sense and understand what happened in my head.
Were they able to tell you any more about, I guess like one of the questions I've always just still had and still think about is like motive and why those kids, why that house? Like, were there any, I don't want to say theories, but did they have any more insight into that?
So not necessarily, and maybe it's because
Remember, motive isn't required. That's not something that they have to even have. I mean, it's not something they have to have. But also, I want to know the motive too. Let me ask you guys, what do you think the motive was? Put it in the chat. Like if you have even a guess or an idea, what do you think? And to me, the only thing I think is with motive is he was obviously a sick, disturbed individual who had studied all about this. And if you look even in the paper, the pictures taken of his room and some of the papers that they found in his apartment and his office and stuff, they found essays where he wrote about the court process, where he wrote about, the death penalty, where he wrote about these different things. I can't remember the exact picture, but it was just so eerie, or the exact topic from this one picture in his stuff. It was an essay, and he was educated on this stuff. He was literally writing an essay about something that would be a huge part of his life just shortly later, just a little bit down the road. So I think the motive is just that. He wanted to be like the people he studied. I truly would not be surprised if this was not about who the individuals were, which it is about that. That's what it's all about. But to him, if this was not about that at all, they're young, beautiful girls, college girls, a house full of them. With, like she mentions here in a moment, a vantage point that's beneficial to a creep like him.
The why has never touched me at night. I've never cared about the why. So that wasn't really something that I pushed them for. I will say, when you look at the cast data and the 23 different occasions that he was at the house, they don't all line up with just one person. So it's not like he was only ever there when, Kaylee was. They're very random and they're very sporadic, which to me made more sense, because I was always confused when they said someone was targeted, then maybe the house was targeted, then no, someone was targeted. And it
Okay, I just had a light bulb moment. Okay, we talked about this a moment ago, and Kim, I'm with you. I would like to know why those kids too. But the house, remember back when they did say this was a targeted attack, then they said the house, maybe it was the house that was targeted. That makes sense now, because what if it was just about the location? A house full of young, beautiful college girls in a house that was easily accessible from the front, from the back, that was kind of like in the center of this place where you drive down the road, you see right in all their windows. Maybe that's why. Maybe it was targeted, but not personally. Interesting. But I'm with you, Kim. I want to know why too. And where did this, like, the order of events? I want the accurate order of how this happened. Hey, Hoodie and a Crowbar. Good morning. Okay, let's keep listening. If you missed the beginning, you guys, we went over a TikTok that Alivea posted, and she talks about, she wants this information out there. She feels it will stop some of the conspiracies. And as you guys know, this case is full of them. And the Idaho 4 trolls, the pro burgers, I'm sure we could pull up Facebook. We might do it after this. We'll just pull up Facebook and I'll show you some of the people and the idiots and the idiotic statements. They obsess and love him for some reason. It's weird. We talked about her TikTok, and we talked about, I read off some notes and stuff, but it all kind of ties in with this. So you really didn't miss much. If you want to rewind, though, I know a lot of people don't go on TikTok that watch YouTube, then you can have a place to watch her video. But
almost made more sense to me knowing this, thinking maybe it really was the location, right? Maybe it really was more of a non-specific that became a specific because we know that he went directly to the third floor. But maybe it was more so just, a vantage point looking out, inside from the out that he found particularly interesting or something. But again, that why it's never bothered me. For me, I've always known that the why would never make sense.
So what were you hoping to get out of the meeting, I guess? Like, was there something specific?
Yeah, so there was a couple things. I wanted to take a look at the complete surveillance footage that was put together that showed his movements,
which she got to see
a little after 3 a.m. to 4:20, 4:30, and that's extremely comprehensive. when you see that as a full picture of the car being here, then here, then here, tracking those movements.
Her mic is a bit muffled, but yeah, I would have loved for the public to see that. I think that would probably tame down a lot of the conspiracies, and maybe we will. They're giving the exhibits out now to the news and stuff, or to anybody who requests it. We'll see. Kim says, but he left 2 alive. I know, but I don't think that, I don't know. I don't know the answers there. I don't know if he even knew they were there. I don't know if he felt like he was running out of time and he needed to just hurry and get out of there. If he did see Dylan, if he didn't, I can understand why there's questions for sure. And then Sarah says, I've always believed this was a warped version of personalized research. Oh, from him. Even when I read your comment the first time to myself in my head, like before I pulled it up, it didn't click for me until I read it out loud. You mean his research? It's very interesting. Also, I want to say, if you missed the beginning, Koberger is fighting right now. The defense is filing motions. They don't want to pay the restitution he agreed to in his plea deal to all the families. They are specifically noting that the Goncalves and Maddie Mogen's mom did get resources from the public.
I wanted to see the cast report and these 23 different occasions. When did they start? When did they stop? Are we talking about, he was outside for 4 minutes, or are we talking about he was outside for 4 hours? And then something that really was something that was difficult for me to process was the thought of the crime scene photos leaking. So we know that there is a leak somewhere. I think it's still currently being investigated. And I basically left it up to them. And I told them, if you're confident that these photos are safe, I don't need to see anything. But if you think that there's a chance that they will leak, let me hurt myself with them right here, right now, so that I can, continue to function. Because it's really, really difficult for me, particularly, to live and maneuver in a world when I know that there's information out there that could hurt me that I just don't have access to. So those were my 3 main pieces of information that I was wanting to look at.
So what did they say to you when you said, if you think there's a chance that these photos will leak, I want to see them? Like, what did they say?
I don't think that with certainty they could say that they wouldn't leak. So ultimately I did wind up viewing one photo of the scene of Maddie's bedroom. Maddie was completely redacted. They offered more, but I truly didn't need to see more than the one.
She personally needed that to feel okay with going on the internet after. And I can understand that. I talked to you guys. I interviewed Bianca Devin's mom years ago. And Bianca's killer, before Bianca was even found and recovered by police, posted photos of her. So with her neck cut on the internet. And those photos have never went away. You could probably find them now with deep digging. And her family has went online to search the grandpa for one reason or another, or this for one reason or another, and been smacked in the face with the photos of their loved one in her last moments. She had to fight Google and create new laws to get them down and to do something about it. It's just, and they're still not down, but Google does remove them when they're shared, reposted, things like that. It's just a mess. So can you imagine not even wanting to go on your damn phone or on the internet? You're bored at the doctor waiting. You can't scroll Google. You can't, because the anxiety of what you might see that you will never forget. So I can understand that. It is awful. You remember that interview, and I saw those pics. Oh God, they were terrible. I've seen them as well. That case, if you don't know about it, it is, Bianca Devins was a beautiful young girl. I'm not going to get too much into it because we're talking Idaho, but I'll just say beautiful young girl in New York with her life ahead of her. And this disgusting, obsessed creep, here she is, took her life and then put her on a tarp brought a boom box, started playing songs, and tried to act, superficially wounding himself and calling police. And he's just a monster, and posting photos of it along the way. Oh, and secretly recording them being intimate just before he took her life, and sharing that stuff too. He's just disgusting. So
yeah. And it was ultimately Bill Thompson who provided that piece of saying that he couldn't guarantee that they wouldn't leak, because he's not sure exactly who from the defense's side had access to them. So if he was the only one and his team, he would have been very, very confident that they'd never get out.
Hey, Elle.
But that unknown made him hesitant to, have the confidence that they wouldn't, leak eventually. Not that I think he's saying that they will leak. I think just in an overabundance of caution, especially considering I was there in that moment, ready, had prepared myself to see this. So yeah.
I guess I'm just keep thinking about you like alone there. I'm so used to seeing you with your family. But I know there's certain things, I mean, I can't relate to this in any way. Like I can't even imagine, but there are like certain things in life I feel like you just want to do alone.
Yeah.
Like that you need to process alone just as like a single human being. You know what I mean? Like, was it like that kind of a thing?
Yeah. And I mean, my mom and dad won't even look at the photos that the city of Moscow released, months ago, that batch of 182. So we are just very, very different in that aspect where I kind of play this role with my mom mainly, where
she's like
I can take information and I can process it. And then she gets to come to me and just kind of pick what she wants to hear about.
She's the filter. She is the strength of this family, part of it, right? I'm sure they all are, but she is literally taking the hardest things to hear and look at and filtering it to her mom in a way that her mom can consume the information to know. I mean, God, if that's not like the whole world on your back, I don't know what is.
And so in that capacity, I guess I kind of need to have that information to be able to help, my mom or my sisters or my, brother or anything if they ever need it, like my understanding of the full picture as completely as I could make it. And I guess that I'd rather be the one that is hurt by it so that I can, spare them from that while still being like a source of truth about it. I'm never going to lead them astray or, but just be able to give specific details that they want to hear about and nothing more, nothing less.
She does.
What was it like with Bill Thompson? God. Just because I know, you've obviously been frustrated with the prosecution in the past and we're not pleased with the way things sort of ended.
Now, this is interesting. What was it like with Bill Thompson? If you guys remember, Steve Goncalves came on and was like, he's a punk. He's a wussy. He always takes the easy way. He never puts the families first. Like, he came out hard swinging at him. They were very pissed over the plea deal. Okay. Now, I read from my notes. I don't remember what she said. I just know listening. I wrote in my notes. Let me pull it back up again just so we can hear and kind of compare to what I wrote. I wrote, made peace with the deal, not just about the families, about the witnesses, the jurors, etc. So, and I think that's a really mature, grown-up, thoughtful way to go about this, because I can get being mad at first, but it is about the bigger picture. And I appreciate that about her. I think that's a mature, like, here, let's listen together.
With the plea deal. What was it like, sitting at a table with him?
I have no bad blood with Bill Thompson. I do truly think that he did his best. And I think in his heart, he thought what he was doing was the most good for the most amount of people who were affected by this. I think he knew that it would hurt us to take a plea deal, but I think that he deemed that a necessary evil in order to provide good for, a lot of people who are affected by this. We can't think about the families of the four. We're also talking about, witnesses. We're also talking about, court staff, jurors. We're changing jurors' lives by having to show them this information. So I truly think that he did what he thought.
We are changing jurors' lives with having to show them this information. It's true. But the fact she can see that and everything, that just makes me appreciate what she has to say more. Because it's so true. Oh, didn't mean to mute us.
Was best. It wasn't good enough for us, but I'm not really sure that anything would have ever been good enough for us without getting him back. So he was fairly quiet, but it wasn't awkward or anything. I think that he has eventually come around to terms to kind of respect that, you know, we might just kind of be abrasive, but we're not heartless, you know, we're not mean. And, you know, I wasn't there to pick a fight by any means.
So when you left, like, what did that feel like?
So initially it felt, you know, I felt a little bit of relief, I think just because it was done and it had kind of been something that I had, you know, once again, mentally prepared for, right? And then you get to the other side of it and now, you know, it's done and it's over and you're excited to move on to, you know, the next, okay? You know, forward movement, but fairly quickly. After this one in the next, you know, day or two, you're really just hit with the weight and the gravity. And you're left with, me personally, I was left with more questions that I know don't have answers. Like, for example, like, you know, why? And not why in the motive sense, but like, what? Like, what were you even thinking? And I know that that sounds so small, but there again, like very specific questions I know don't have answers.
Do you guys think Kohberger will ever speak about his side, what he was thinking, what led to this? I mean, I don't know, because if he does, you know, speak with that professor, maybe. I feel like if he would do it, he would want to be in control. It just, will he write a book? Will he do something like that where he will give out these details, the why, the what I was thinking, the, you know, I don't know.
Answers. And, you know, I'm kind of sitting here 10 days later, still greatly struggling with, you know, the full weight of what Kaylee, you know, just Kaylee, I didn't see anyone else, but just Kaylee had to go through.
Yeah, and I think just from what I know of you, like you're just always searching for answers. Like you don't really give up. Like you're just like you keep going. You know what I mean? Your dad is like that too. So maybe finding out that you're never going to get certain answers, like I would imagine that must have been hard, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely hard. Especially when I am a very answer-based person, right? You know, I have this question, 99% of the time I can get the answer. It might take some work, but I can get there. It's difficult knowing that there's a lot of really painful unknowns, and you either have to let them go, which I'm never going to do, or you have to keep digging for more information until my brain can process, you know, or create an inference to be able to answer those questions for me.
Yeah. Would you, I mean, a lot of the questions, I think, you know, the killer is the only one who knows. Like, would you ever want information from him?
Not in like the way of like, you know, a book, or not in the way of like him doing like, you know, a news interview or anything like that. So I guess the answer then is no, because he doesn't really have many other options. I will continue to go back to, I think that a full confession should have been included.
Kohberger. I called Brian Anton Kohberger. He talks so slow. She talks so fast. Like I hear him talk and I'm just like, okay, come on. I'm used to listening a little faster paced.
Agreement or condition of the plea agreement. And that is something that in this case could have happened and I believe should have happened, but it's just one of those that we have to let go. We can't go back. So yeah, I think a lot of those answers would have been great, but I don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah. And I know there was a gag order and all sorts of rules, but it also makes me wonder, like, if you could have had this sort of relationship with
interesting.
the prosecutor and the police earlier on.
Tess says that's the only control he has left. So in my opinion, he won't say it. And then Elle says if he talks, I think it will be with his professor. I forget her name. It's funny because I'm usually the one who remembers it. Now I've forgotten it. Oh my gosh. I've forgotten her name too. Brian always seems empathetic when he talks to victims. He does. I think he does just a great job at connecting and just communicating. The hell is her name? Why can't I think of it? Literally, I'm always the one who usually remembers it. Now I've forgotten too. Well, shit.
And these kinds of conversations, would you have understood each other better, you know, before all
Catherine Ramsland
came to an end? You know, would it probably been nice to have that during?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in, you know, those last 8-9 months leading up to trial, I think we were getting there finally. But yeah, it's difficult when the conversation's always the same, and it's always us frustrated with the lack of information, us trying to make sense of it, them sticking to the gag order, you know, getting frustrated that we're still pushing it, that, you know, we're still asking these questions, and you know, the material is inherently frustrating, right? But so it takes a while to get to a point where, you know, I understand Bill Thompson a little bit more, you know, and maybe he understands me a little bit more. It would have been great if from the beginning there wasn't the gag order, or there was some way that we could have had more information or candid conversation throughout with them. But you know, that's just not how this cookie crumbled for us, you know?
Yeah. Something else I was thinking about, because I don't think I've talked to you since this stuff came out, you know, with Washington State University, like there were all these, you know, public reports that are out now of women who were afraid of Brian Koberger.
Okay, so I'm going to share the link to this. We're going to move on to something else that just came out with this that I want to look at with you guys. I've watched the beginning of it, haven't seen it all. I'm going to share the link to Brian Enton's interview again. Subscribe to his channel, dude. His channel is bomb, and he talks about a bunch of different stuff. It's like one video a day, like a 40-minute pre-record. It's really good. And then Amber, I'm excited you want to do that. Mama Bear says, OMG, ATS and Allie, I'd love to know both of your opinions on hidden true crime, so you know I'll be there. I want to do it. I'm going to see if I can get like Melissa or Bendy or a couple other creators that want to join us. And I'll find some things that we can react to, maybe some clips from her original video, some clips from Duty Ron, some clips from if she comes back again when she comes back to her channel, and we'll just kind of discuss it along the way. So that's exciting. PB&J says, I'm not happy the DA didn't keep the family involved in what they were doing, but a trial would have let certain people feed into their ridiculous speculations. Oh, 100%. And they are, no matter what, though, PB&J. That's why she did the TikTok that I showed first. She said because of the conspiracies, the rumors, the lies. I forget the word she used, but it was because of that. People go crazy with this case and with, you know, what is it about these people? Like, you see some man like Brian, Luigi, all these, Wade, accused of these horrific crimes, and you're like, no, like, he didn't do it. I can see it in his eyes. And you truly like believe and stand by. Don't look at the facts. Just look at any little thing that might make him look a little better. I don't know. I don't understand it. I know she did web sleuth. Can I give context on one part, please, before your panel? You can come up, Tess, if you want. But you can message me about context as well. Oh, yeah, that's right. Mormon stories. So we'll just grab a couple clips, but try to do it in order. I have a whole opinion on it and have consumed the entire 9-hour stream. I have an opinion too, but I'm going to save it. But I don't know if you guys are going to like it. I'll be honest. I hope that like you guys don't get too mad at me over my opinion, but we'll get there on another day. Okay, so let's go over to, or soon, hopefully really soon.
Indy may have dumped the remains
this and see what they have to say about this, because this is new and I haven't got to see too much of it.
Against Brian Koberger at his trial that didn't end up happening, along with more details about who would have testified and another possible tie between Brian Koberger and his fixation with Bundy, plus the latest on what's going on with him in prison.
Chris, Crafty Chris, I'll have to try to find that.
Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Brian Koberger, he's been in prison now for nearly 3 months, and he's at the very, very beginning of serving 4 consecutive life sentences behind bars. A trove of documents related to the heinous murders of Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were sealed for months and in some cases years. And now that Koberger has admitted to the crimes, those documents are slowly being unsealed.
Does it help to seal cases like this? Does it help? Like, You ended up doing a plea deal anyways. And even if you went to trial, like look at Stephen Stearns, look at Florida. They release everything. No fears of it messing up a trial. You know, we had so much info on Stephen Stearns. Does it help? I don't think it does. I think doing these like where no one can speak on it, no one can speak to the media or anyone. I don't think that helps at all. I really don't. A gag order, but I was looking for the other word for that. I think it just keeps rumors going and no one can clarify anything, you know, and no matter what, it seems like the bullshit and the rumors continue. It doesn't really matter at this point because of years of mystery and
they're telling more of the horrific and sad story of what happened in the house on King Road that night. We're also learning more about who prosecutors and the defense team plan to call as witnesses at the trial. And some of that is pretty revealing given what Bill Thompson told me last month about how they were going to present the case at trial. What is your working theory, Bill, about this crime and why he did this? I mean, you have to have some type of working theory. I mean, juries like to hear stories. You have to tell the jury a story. So what was your working theory here about why Brian Kohberger went to King Road that night and who specifically he was targeting?
Anjanette, going into trial, we really weren't going to be proposing a working theory like you just discussed. Our focus was on the evidence showing that we have these horribly murdered young people and the evidence that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that
and let's not forget, horribly murdered is the tame way of describing what happened to these kids. We now have learned that, don't forget either, Kathy Mabbitt tells us all it's like one main wound. I forget how she words it. She describes some sort of stab wound, but makes it seem like it's one while they're sleeping. Now we know Xana fought back. She fought like crazy. Her fingers were damn near cut off of her hand. You know, defensive wounds all over her. Kaylee, defensive wounds all over her. I mean, the majority of her wounds, at least half, were defensive wounds. Not to mention broken nose, missing teeth. This was incredibly violent. It was almost animalistic. If you go into a house in rage and stab 4 people, fight with them, you know, him and Xana, and then you're so like the anger and the rage that I don't understand, but it doesn't seem that it was him. I don't know. I don't even know what to think of it. But like I said, animalistic. It seems like it's anger and rage, but we know that he didn't have any personal connection to these people. So it's anger and rage is internalized, if anything like that, but the energy and I don't know, just incredibly brutal. Do not forget, do not be misled. This was not 4 people sleeping in their beds and someone goes in and they don't even know that how their lives were taken. They're not even aware or awake during it. This is not that. It was demonic. 50 stab wounds on Xana. Kaylee, unrecognizable. Just remember all the sighs and all the times the cops said fuck in the body cam. Yeah, no working theory. Interesting. They definitely tried to make it less horrific than it was, in my opinion. Or so, like we were misled. If I could pull up the coroner's interview now, I'm not going to do that, but she, you know, you can find it easily. Actually, fuck. Let's listen while I pull it.
Defendant is the one who was responsible for it.
Find just a clip of it.
The lack of the backstory is something that we have to factor in. It's not an element of the crime. It's not something the jury will be asked to decide on. But human nature is such that if they get distracted by that, they could start creating questions in their own mind that had nothing to do with whether or not the defendant was guilty. So our approach at trial really was going to be much like what we did when we were in court on July 2nd, when the guilty plea entered and the factual summary of our evidence. That was going to be the trial, and focus the jury on the elements under the law and what the proof was of those elements.
So very clinical, circumstantial evidence. We have the DNA, we have the cell phone stuff, we have the white Elantra.
Exactly.
Okay, so first off, the prosecutors, they had no intention of calling Brian Koberger's parents as witnesses. That came up in pretrial hearings, but their names were not on the witness list. But Brian Koberger's sister, Amanda Koberger, she was the only family member on the witness list, and prosecutors did not imply that she had any knowledge of the murders. I want to be clear on that. Prosecutors wrote in their trial brief, the state intends to call family members of defendant for the purpose of establishing certain facts before defendant moved to Pullman in late summer 2022, as well as facts about defendant's conduct when he returned home in Pennsylvania in December 2022. The nature of the
I would like to see their interviews. I would really like to see his family interviews. Now, I found a short. Let's see what this is. Come on over here with me. All right.
I got the call just a few minutes after noon that there were 4 homicides, but I didn't go to the scene because of law enforcement doing their investigation first. So I didn't actually go to the scene until about 5 or 5:30. Well, law enforcement goes through and looks for any evidence, takes videos and pictures of everything in there, and they'll start talking with people. So I don't really need to be there for that. They can't move the bodies. We have forensic pathologists, and we contract with Spokane to do that.
So in your experience, what is it that you saw when you showed up?
Well, there was a lot of blood. It was a very sad scene with 4 murdered college students.
Okay.
I got the call just a few.
That's not what we're looking for, though. Let's see here.
Kathy, with a C, Mabbutt, Mabbutt.
And I'm going to ask you, how long have you been doing this for?
That there were 4 homicides, but I didn't go to the scene because
I saw
of
this.
law
Let me
enforcement.
schedule it.
Between when police show up and then you guys getting the bodies and doing your examinations?
Sure. Well, law enforcement goes through and looks for any evidence, takes videos and pictures of everything in there, and they'll start talking with people.
I should use the transcript.
I don't really need to be there for that. They can't move the bodies. I mean, the bodies have to stay as they were until the coroner gets there. So that's what my job is.
And
Get the bodies.
as the coroner, do you guys do the autopsies and all that?
No, we some do if they're an actual medical examiner, but we have forensic pathologists, and we contract with Spokane to do that.
So in your experience, what is it that you saw when you showed up?
Well, there was a lot of blood. It was a very sad scene with 4 murdered college students.
You're running all 4 deaths on site?
Yes.
And can you give us any other?
I believe that the press release was that they were from a sharp object. So yeah, we'll know more after the autopsies tomorrow.
And do you believe this could be like a murder suicide or?
No, there are 4 homicides.
And when it comes to doing the investigation post-autopsy?
Before autopsies.
Yes.
Even.
It's my job to determine the manner and mechanism of death.
And then I know with toxicology results,
Pretty irresponsible, I guess, but.
do you have any idea how long it could take if this were relevant to get any type of results back on that?
Well, the toxicology reports, right, they usually take 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes longer, but they might, I don't think they're going to be relevant in the actual manner or cause of death.
And do we know how long between the time of death and when police found them? Approximately?
No, I don't know for sure.
Do we have could it have been hours? Would it have been a day? Was it maybe close? Is there any sort of time frame there?
Not that I'm aware of.
And you said the scene was
Hey, Jennifer.
Since I've been coroner, there have been at least 2 other multiple homicide scenes that I've been involved in. So
We were going over some new stuff and now kind of looking back at some stuff. And
it's hard to just single it out. It's the only one I've been to where there have been 4 people at one scene. The other ones have had multiple scenes.
and was anybody else injured that you noticed people?
Not that I'm aware of, but I wouldn't necessarily be notified either.
Okay. I didn't know if that was because the injuries could be similar to the other two.
Oh, right.
Were the deceased all in close proximity to each other, or were they in different rooms?
I don't know that I can discuss that.
That's my next question too. So. Yeah. Will we be able to get a copy of your report?
Oh, sure. Yes.
Okay. Just call.
Yes. Yep.
when did she say they were
It
sleeping?
just depends on how relevant the toxicology report is, but
Okay.
So-
So it was like before 6 weeks.
it could be. Yeah. Mabbutt.
And I'm asking you, how long have you been doing this for?
I've been doing it for 16 years, and I just got reelected for another 4.
So what is it that? Or
That was something I wanted to touch
I got
on.
the call
But
just
hold
a few minutes
on.
after noon that there were 4 homicides, but I didn't go to the scene because of law enforcement.
Okay, so there must be another interview, but just remember, this woman is elected. She's not a doctor. She's not a forensic, anything with some kind of, she's not doing that. There is a medical examiner who's going to be doing the autopsies. She's doing her best. I don't think she lied. It is interesting though, or not, I don't know if she lied or not. I think she spoke too soon and probably put her foot in her mouth and should have waited. we were definitely misled. I don't want to drag you guys down looking at every video trying to find it. Let's go back to the new stuff. And if I find it, I know I can search Kathy Mubbit sleeping and see if anything comes up for that. I'll still do some looking when we end, and we'll come back and talk about it. But so back to all the things coming out that we're learning, and family members. Tess said, was his sister really, hey, MK, was his sister really going to testify? MK, I haven't seen you in so long. I've missed you. And Chief, I've missed you. Oh my gosh, good to see you guys. I don't think she should have said so much. I just wonder if the human in her just needed to get it out, you know? Right. I think, I don't know. I just think can't be so hard on some of these people, but also we were misled a bit, but you know, I don't necessarily think it was intentional. Okay. His sister. Let me rewind it for a second. Tess said, is it true his sister was going to be testifying for the prosecution? So she was on their list. Let me replay this. But even if, regardless of who it's for, prosecution. Oh my God, I said to exit out of StreamYard. I'm sorry. Prosecution, defense, whatever. If they're subpoenaed to testify, they have to go. If the prosecution subpoenas them to testify, we've seen people try not to show up. They put out warrants. You have to go. So it's not like they're like, oh, I want to help the prosecution.
But Brian Kohberger's sister, Amanda Kohberger, she was the only family member on the witness list, and prosecutors did not imply that she had any knowledge of the murders. I want to be clear on
she was the only family member on their witness list. So there's the answer to your question.
that. Prosecutors wrote in their trial brief, the state intends to call family members of defendant for the purpose of establishing certain facts before defendant moved to Pullman in late summer 2022, as well as facts about defendant's conduct when he returned home in Pennsylvania in December 2022. The nature of this testimony has been disclosed through reports of interviews. Now, there had been endless speculation about Kohberger's parents knowing or suspecting their son committed the crimes because he called his parents that morning. But I've told you in the past that experts with Celebrate said he did that every day anyway. He talked to his parents a lot throughout the day, so it was no big deal. Prosecutors would have potentially presented hundreds and hundreds of exhibits, including photos, audio and video interviews, and other visual aids. And they collected DNA samples from a lot of people to either include them or exclude them as suspects. Those would have been exhibits at trial as well. The defense, meanwhile, was going to call 16 experts to attack evidence presented by the prosecution. Those included cell phone experts like Cy Ray, who I've told you about before, a crime scene expert who would have told jurors he believed two.
Wow. The defense had 16 experts. Think about that. Letitia had one, Dorothy Lewis. You know, we've seen some of them have none, no one to testify. And Taylor was, you know, decent attorney. Just to circle back to the Kathy Mabbitt thing, because I think I was unclear, but I do feel misled. I don't think that we had the right information at all. We were made to believe that it was one thing when it was another incredibly violent. Either way, it was incredibly violent, but this was brutal. Like I said, animalistic. But at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to like attack the woman. And yeah, so that's kind of why it's like you feel misled, but you don't want to like give off the perception. I don't want you guys to think that I'm trying to like attack the woman. You know what I mean? Just want to talk about it factually for what it is and how you feel and what came out when and that's that. So not to go back to it.
Weapons and two people committed the crimes, and a computer forensics expert and a DNA analyst, along with several others. Brian Kohberger didn't have an alibi. That was out the window. He had conceded he was out driving around that night, so attacking the evidence was really all they had.
An alibi.
The defense also revealed in discovery that a forensic psychiatrist interviewed Brian Kohberger's family. Her name is Dr. Eileen Ryan, and she works at The Ohio State University. She specializes in adult and child psychiatry and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Documents reveal that she conducted a family evaluation of Brian Kohberger's parents and his sister Amanda in late 2024, and then in-person individual evaluations of his mother and two older sisters the following day. Dr. Ryan interviewed other people too and looked at other materials. Washington State University professor Amelie Pedno could have been called to testify about Brian Kohberger. She had told investigators she felt like Kohberger wanted to work with her but never asked. She was also concerned about the way he treated female students. Kohberger had read a paper that she had written about Ted Bundy. A female student from Washington State University was also on the witness list. And so was John Snyder, the professor for whom Koberger worked as a teacher.
Now, John Snyder, I did watch. There was a couple, a bartender and who and an this man that lives in the area, he has like a small newspaper type of publication, online publication, and his wife was a bartender at this professor's favorite bar. And this was the guy that Brian Koberger was like studying under. And he knew as soon as the crimes happened, like he knew it was Koberger. He was not surprised at all. He had suspicions. He knew. He had suspicions and was not surprised at all. And I believe before Koberger was even arrested, once like certain details were starting to come out, then that's when he came to the conclusion, I think it's Brian, which is interesting. And if anybody knows where that's at, let me know so I can link it, or at least tell you guys where to see it, because it's a pretty good watch.
Assistant. Snyder didn't have anything positive to say about Brian Koberger, although he did tell investigators he didn't notice bias in his grading when it came to female students. We're also going to talk a little bit more about some of Brian Koberger's selfies. We found some from Mount Rainier National Park near Seattle. One appears to have the word sluts in the background. We looked that up. The stones commemorate the first climb of Mount Rainier. It actually states Sluiskin Indian guide waited here for the climbers to return, but the framing isn't.
It says Slutskin Indian guide waited here to return in the background, and people just see the word sluts. And they're like, Koberger's posing in front of a rock that says sluts. What does that mean? That must mean blah, 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 and run with whatever.
Interesting. The foothills of Mount Rainier is also where Ted Bundy may have dumped the remains of a woman he confessed to killing in 1974. Her name was Gail Manson, and investigators believe her remains were found there in the 1970s, but those remains were later lost and never tested. I cover a lot of really terrifying cases here on Crime Fix, and if it's taught me anything, it's that privacy and personal safety absolutely cannot be compromised, especially when of the interview room, also a
Chris McDonough,
retired homicide detective, and he works with the Cold Case Foundation. So, Chris, we're learning some new details, some things that are pretty gruesome regarding the injuries to the victims. Some things I think we didn't really quite know before. We're now learning that Xana had skull fractures. We knew she had been stabbed more than 50 times. Now
Whoa, so Xana had skull fractures as well? I didn't know that. I haven't seen this video. I just saw it right before we started to watch it and decided, if I feel like it, let's watch it. So we were talking about how, there's another part that shows you just how brutal this was. Xana had skull fractures. I still can't get over the way that Kaylee was done. And I don't know. At first I thought, was he angry because he wanted to be alone with Maddie? And he took that anger out on Kaylee, therefore, breaking her nose, knocking her teeth out. He either punched her, hit her with the back of the knife, something. Now we know that every time he was at the house doesn't coincide with either Maddie or Kaylee. Sometimes he was there, these 20 sometimes he was near the home. Sometimes only one was there. Sometimes the other was there. And then now we know Xana had skull fractures. How did that happen? You can hear the fall. It was a very hard fall on that camera, on the footage of the car going around. God almighty, that footage is just hard to hear, hard to listen to. If you have good headphones and you watch the footage of the car going around and driving off real fast, that footage, oh my God, you can hear like screaming and yelling and almost weeping. It is horrific. And then you hear this very loud thud, and it's then he leaves. Could that be what would do that? I know, I was excited to see MK2, Bendy. And if you guys missed the beginning, let me just tell you, there's a TikTok Alivea did. We watched it. You guys should go watch it. She does release information that's previously unknown, which part of that is Kaylee had wounds that were superficial. She calls them almost experimental. She says that's how it was explained to her. These aren't life-threatening wounds, and not necessarily before when she was fighting back. Some of them maybe after. It's a lot.
Reading in some of these exhibits that she actually had skull fractures. We knew that Kaylee had been badly injured, and now we're learning that Maddie had wounds on her face, around her ear. some imprint from the weapon on her chest. I mean, it's really.
Maddie had wounds on her face, around the ear, and imprints from the weapon on her chest. Where does that information come from? I haven't seen that. Unsealed Koberger docs. It's not on Moscow's website, because if you look here, the last content update, it says 3 months ago. I don't know. Somebody let me know if you know where to find that, because I really want to look at it myself.
It gets more and more graphic the more that we learn.
Yeah, and this gives us an idea, Anjanette, of how the intensity that Brian Koberger was displaying inside of that room. I mean, if we think about just that one wound, the imprint of the weapon on her chest, is that a full, hilt stab?
What term?
Stab wound. I've had many cases where the weapon has gone completely into the victim, and it's left a mark of the hilt of the knife on their body. Or
they were saying these were after she quit fighting back. I don't know.
The opposite is at the handle, where there has the square end of it, where he's using it as a item, to bludgeon them to death. The fact that both of them have, skull injuries just tells us his target of attack, or facial injuries. The perpetrator is focused on, personalization, for lack of a better term, and or disruption in Xana's case. And he has transferred that aggression into his ferocity.
Yeah, it certainly shows. I think this whole thing spun out of control. I've said it many times before. That doesn't mean that I'm right. I think he went in there for.
Mindy, did you watch it? Because I didn't get that from it. That it was hesitation. It seemed like it was after the fact, and these they described it as him playing around, maybe to cause pain, maybe for torture or whatever, that kind of thing, and that it was some of them were after she quit fighting back. And they weren't life-threatening. They were just like, yeah. Have you watched her TikTok? Because I guess I could play it again at the end, maybe. I was talking about you at the beginning that I wanted you to see it.
Possibly one person, and then it just went not according to his sick plan, but I could be totally wrong about that. But the more we're learning, we knew that this was a vicious, awful, they called it, heinous and cruel, what the statute calls it when you want to pursue the death penalty. But this is, it's so sick and demented. It just seems very chaotic. I guess that, in your field of work and people who analyze crime scenes, kind of disorganized. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yeah, I think it's spun into a disorganized crime scene, to your point. But I believe he went in there as an organized offender initially. And then as things started to, get disrupted, i.e. two people in the, the first room, Maddie and Kaylee, and now, that situation.
You know what? I was gonna try to look a little into what he's saying here, but I'm not going to, and I'm going to hold myself back from making any comments that I want to make.
Going down, which was potentially unexpected. And now you have Xana coming in and interrupting that first fantasy play. Okay, remember, everything that Brian Koberger did started first in his mind months and months ago, if not even maybe a year prior to the homicide. And then, he built his target set and his fantasy built off of that target set. And then he started to prepare and he executed. And that was, all part of an organized offender. But to your point, I agree with you. Once he got in there, that fantasy went, to heck. And now it becomes disorganized. What do I do? How do I do it? Which was unanticipated. And that rage could be shown in the rage towards the victims.
For the longest time, obviously, he maintained his innocence. His attorneys were fighting this case. He was, I guess, demanding to go to trial. They were going to call a number of witnesses. They were mostly going to call experts in their case.
16 experts. But at the end of the day, what Anne seemed to be fighting, and if you haven't watched Melissa, she has went through every single page, every paragraph, every line of all the pretrial hearings and all that paperwork, everything that was filed. And they've done a great job. But what they've shown is that her and Shay, a lot of what she was fighting was death penalty stuff and mitigating factors. I can't argue his thoughts on this part because I said something similar. Oh, and another new thing for people coming in late. Koberger his attorneys have filed to not pay restitution to half of the families. So the Goncalves and Maddie's Maddie's mom, Laramie, I think is how you say her name. He doesn't want to pay them because they had help from the public with GoFundMe's and things like that. They do note some extra things that were some money that the prosecution was asking for the families in September, a total of like almost $27,000. And I don't really know what that was for. There's some confusion for me there. But yeah.
The state was contending in this case that Bryan Kohberger was the one person who committed these crimes. They were going to try to say it was 2 people and 2 weapons. They were going to say a number of different things.
They literally,
obviously, they
were going to say it was 2 people and 2 weapons. And don't forget, the defense literally had people they were planning to blame it on, and they knew it wasn't them. Like naming them. I mean, and we see just like with Leilani and Danny, right? And it is so frustrating though to see like them try to shift suspicion and blame on other people when it's so obviously them.
They caved at the last minute. They went asking for a deal. We know what happened. The state, though, it was interesting to see their witness list because they were going to call people from Washington State University. I mean, they had kind of indicated at a pretrial hearing, at least this Jeff Nye did from the assistant or the attorney general's office. He said at one point, we have much better aggravating evidence than people at WSU saying mean things about Bryan Kohberger. Bryan Kohberger's ears kind of perked up. But, they had people from WSU who they were going to call to the stand. The state did in its case in chief, which I find very interesting. They were going to call John Snyder, the professor for whom Bryan Kohberger was working as a TA. John Snyder didn't have one nice thing to say about Bryan Kohberger. They were going to call Amelia Pedno, the professor who wrote her thesis on Ted Bundy. So we know that he was interested in Ted Bundy. He had a lot of interest in Ted Bundy. So they were going to call her. They were going to call the chair of the department potentially to talk about how they were going to give Bryan Kohberger the boot.
But Jen, what I was saying about you is we were going to compare him to all these other killers, right? Ted Bundy, the Gainesville Ripper. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. Again, you guys know I don't know that case too well. And I was talking about how does this change things? How does this change how you look at him as a killer and what he did? What was the purpose of it? If he was what they called, and she claims that the prosecution calls these experimental wounds, some after she was not fighting back any longer, not meant to be, wounds that no one would think would be life-threatening. If he's doing that, what kind of monster is he exactly? How do you compare him to these other people? I think that's interesting conversation,
This whole world was collapsing. They were going to call another student who was in the department. We know that he had clashes with women in the department. So do you think they were kind of trying to show, even though they've never come out and said it publicly, do you think they were going to kind of highlight that this is somebody who had an animus toward women, that he was a misogynist?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think where the state was going there was to kind of lay out, what this guy really was like even before the murders. And then and the only way you can do that is do what we call pattern of life, right? We have to interview all kinds of witnesses and get the idiosyncrasies that they observed and or the anger. You want to kind of go into a Q&A with witnesses like that. So tell me about how he would respond if pushed, for an example, or if you gave him a bad grade or anything like that. And that's where those professors come in because, you want that because the defense is going to play him off as, he's just a confused, yada, yada kind of guy, right? But the prosecution has to show beyond reasonable doubt that, no, this guy has all kinds of issues. And by the way, they're correlated back to serial killers, primarily Ted Bundy.
Okay, so primarily Ted Bundy. Is that true, though? Is that who he's most like? Or I don't know. I'm going to show you guys the pictures you sent us. But first, let me say, I'm trying to get my channel back into the algorithm. I want to build it back up. I know it's going to take some time. That's okay. I'm willing to do the work, but I want to ask you guys, if you support me and my channel, can you please do me a favor and leave a like under this video? If you see the option on the replay to hype it or whatever, do that. And yeah, I would appreciate that so much. And also, please watch my videos later. I have a video right now in CapCut I'm about to post. It's just a short thing I filmed yesterday about Keon King. It's the Kaylee Scott case and that terrifying video of him before he kidnapped one of his other victims. Then I have a video that's going to go up today that's just a short. They're both going to maybe go up today. One's almost done, and the other is just very easy to put up. It's one of Keon's friends speaking out about well, here, let me show you. I'm not going to show the video, but if you look here, in my history, like my liked history, I left a heart on every video starting here on Kata last night that I wanted to show. Now, there is a friend of hers, or a friend of Keon's that came forward that lived near Kata, and she said Keon was asking her all these questions and stuff, and I want to show that video and show what she had to say about it. Her name's Gabby, and then Gabby's friend Dee also spoke out what Gabby told her that Keon said. Questions like, where does Kata live and stuff. So it's pretty interesting. So please watch those videos later. It would mean so much to me. That case is a case I'm going to be following, till the end, whether there's 20 people in the chat or 2,000 people in the chat. And I've had both. I've had, plenty of lives with hundreds of people and plenty with none. But yeah, I want to get my channel going again. So if you support me, please, I would appreciate it so much if you would like the videos and watch those videos later and join me to talk about that case and get into it, because it's very interesting, and that dude should have never been free, ever. So that's all I'm going to say about that case now. But he has kidnapped other women. There's video evidence, that directly goes with with the kidnapping. There's a woman with the protection from abuse against him right now. So yeah, that's all. Okay, so now let me show you. If you missed it and you came in late, because I want to show Bindi anyways, let me just show you what she had to say. I'm not going to pause it though, except for maybe once for fair use. So
I have to keep this really brief.
So this is Kaylee's sister talking about she met with prosecutors. She went there by herself and she learned some new things. Part of what she learned was she did see one crime scene photo, and then they have 26 photos of Kaylee's wounds, I believe. It's hard to understand the way it's reported on, but just listen to her. She can explain it better than me.
But in regards to some descriptions of autopsy photos that the state had planned to introduce as exhibits, I just wanted to offer a little bit of, my perspective that maybe will help lessen some of the speculation. I need to be very clear. I'm not talking anything specifically about Maddie, about Xana, about Ethan. I don't know anything specifically about them at all whatsoever. So I can only talk to my experiences regarding Kaylee's autopsy and questions that I've had for investigators and everything like that. So I just want to make that really clear. And there's really no easy way to say this. The gag order protected an absolute fucking monster. It's disgusting, but some of the wounds that were made to Kaylee were described as experimental. So a wound that might typically, in its presentation, look defensive, might not have necessarily been defensive, because at some point he was inflicting wounds that, any logical person would know wouldn't be fatal. So I don't want to speculate on, what exactly he was doing, whether it was to, just cause pain or whatnot. Yeah, these wounds didn't necessarily make a lot of sense. They were described to me as experimental. And on Kaylee specifically, there was evidence that he continued the attack after she was no longer even fighting back. So just in line.
Okay, so see what I mean? Some of the wounds were experimental. Any logical person would know these weren't fatal wounds, and there's evidence that, it continued after she quit fighting back. So how does this change things with, like I said, who is this monster, Bryan Kohberger? Who is he? And what the hell was he doing, and why? Was Kaylee the main target? Was the house the main target? Because that's another thing that gets discussed. It seems like, based on the evidence, he was there at times when one person was there and not the other, and vice versa. It wasn't like he was following one person stop to stop, although we know he had been to the Mad Greek, right? which is where Maddie and Xana worked. So Amber says the experimental aspect is so sick and fits him, in my opinion. He wanted to see how it felt, how she reacted. What a monster. Makes me sick just thinking about it. He's a sadist, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, that fits. It fits. But
of that,
just for with what
just
we
because
know,
there's
the
a
little we
wound
know, we get little
on
bits
a
at a
hand,
time.
or a wound on a forearm, or a wound on, a wrist. These really, really classic defensive places. Unfortunately, we just can't make that assumption. And even if they were, the body reacts and there's reflexes to, protect your face, your head, your neck. It doesn't mean that someone was.
Okay, so that right there is interesting to me, that that's the example she gives, to protect your head, face, or neck. But we know Kaylee was unrecognizable. I still can't get over that. What kind of wussy monster, bitch-made man attacks women asleep in bed, and not just attacks them, but brutalizes them to the point where they're missing teeth, they've got broken facial bones. I mean, he's disgusting. He is just absolutely disgusting. And Tess, I agree. I do also think he probably became obsessed with all of them, and with the idea of them, better yet, with the idea of this little, like, what, how they kept calling them recreation, like that, the recreation of the house, the dollhouse, like this little dollhouse with all these beautiful little dolls in it. And he's just a sick, disgusting monster devoid of any humanity. J13 says, and Amber, great point. His porn searches prove he's a sadist. The crime confirms it, in my opinion. And then he has the nerve to complain about the other inmates harassing him. Good luck, mother trucker. I'll try to tone down my language a little bit, because I can be a little harsh sometimes, maybe, especially in the morning to take in.
wasn't sleeping beforehand, or was just briefly.
Girls called it the Barbie dream house.
So yeah, yeah. And also, I want to add just really quickly, I don't want to fucking be doing this, but
that part.
No,
I don't want to fucking be doing this. It's just like so raw and real. It kind of hits me in the gut. Of course she doesn't. Of course she doesn't want to be making a fucking TikTok to talk about the injuries her sister got before she was killed, before she was murdered. She doesn't care about the views. I don't think for a second she gives a damn about getting attention for this. I don't. Why? She'd be making a million TikToks about it. Just like Kata's fucking family, like her aunt, who is making all these videos about her visions before she was found. I'm sorry. This woman isn't doing that. And this is family from Kata's family. That is, the rest of they don't appreciate it. The rest of the family doesn't appreciate, from what I have understood, that. But she made, I don't know. She made this one TikTok because she had to. She felt like she had to. She's tired of seeing the lies, the rumors, the excuses, the people that take little bits of shit, a little percentage, and use it to not only make Brian seem better than he is, but to villainize her sister. I don't blame her.
One on the state
I feel
side
for her bad.
Standing up and giving details like this.
Hey, Jonesy.
I get it to some extent, but it's creating like massive amounts of chaos. And I'm tired of ignoring it. So yeah.
So, it was late at night or early in the morning. So it seems likely that maybe they were sleeping.
There's that clip. I don't even know why I searched for it like I did. It seems likely maybe they were sleeping. Kim says, I think in order to get the plea that he did, he should have had to explain every action he took and why. I do too. Why did they not press for that? He's the one who wanted it. They could have bargained a little bit. Good afternoon, Tony. And Amber said lies. Like, do you think that she was overwhelmed with the attention? Like, I don't know. I'm trying every way to give Mabit the benefit of the doubt, especially because it seems like Alivea is trying to do that. But damn. And Jonesy, if you're listening while you rest, make sure to rewind just a little bit. We just played Olivia's TikTok, and it's got some new information that I think you'll definitely want to know, because I know how close you followed this too. So let me drop some links really quick. And then I want to drop Miss Amber's link, who is in here today. All the links I'm dropping are friends of mine that have stopped in that you guys would probably like their channels, and you probably follow them. Bendy Johnson. She was given a script, a narrative, in my opinion, by like the prosecution or who. Now, let's take a look over to just to show you what I told you I'd show you before we left, over to the Facebooks, okay? And just to random, I don't know what I should type in, maybe Brian Koberger. This is why she wants to get on here, and if I'm sure we'll see it, but why she feels the need to do this. Facebook is the worst for it. They take every little thing, things that I could probably argue so easily, and make it into something that makes him innocent. So here's Court TV reporting on him not wanting to pay. 44 minutes ago, Koberger filed a motion opposing paying further restitution to Mogan and Goncalves family, citing their GoFundMe. What do you think? I think that has nothing to do with it. The fact that they had help from a GoFundMe has nothing to do with it. You still should be responsible and accountable. Duh. Come on, man. Okay. Let's keep going. Just take a look. Unsealed. Koberger docs discussing new details. Didn't hear too much. We heard about the witnesses. We didn't finish it, to be fair. All the defense's 16 experts. And now we have about the experimental wounds. Let's keep going, as I just want to see. Oh, look here, some groups. The top one, look at the top group. Brian Koberger is innocent. 799 members. Okay. More about him not wanting to pay. Brian Koberger. Oh, let's look at this. Brian, oh, this is when he filed the sexual harassment. So, I'm sorry. Now you want to be protected? No. No, 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 no. I'm like, even though I know they have to, it just annoys me. His handwriting's terrible in that, but it's not always terrible. Brief summary of the incident. On August 3rd, resident Koberger submitted a concern form stating he, quote, has been subject to threats and harassment, recently escalating to overt sexually violent threats and statements, unquote. How does it feel, buddy? How does it feel? Well, at least you're alive. At least they didn't wait until you were half asleep and attack you. Lieutenant Malon, I cannot say his name, received, we'll call him Lieutenant M. Lieutenant M received the concern form on August 4th and conducted an interview with Koberger in J Block. Koberger stated a resident that goes by Peru told him, quote, I'll butt fuck you. Koberger also stated an unknown resident from Tier 1 of J Block said, the only ass we'll be eating is Koberger. Sorry. Like, I'm awful because I do get pleasure knowing that he's not having the easiest time. Is that bad? I mean, sorry. Shouldn't have done what you did and you wouldn't be there, buddy. You'd still be calling mommy mother, excuse me, you'd still be calling mother every day for 8 hours a day. And she'd be, emotionally bandaging your emotional wounds, okay? I don't mean to laugh, but I know I can't help but laugh either because he fucking deserves it. But anyway, let me continue. The only ass, we'll start from this part. An unknown resident from Tier 1 from J Block said the only ass we'll be eating is Coburgers. Coburger stated that Officer Signoria was present for the comment made by Peru. Due to Officer Signoria being on B nights, an interview could not be conducted to attempt to corroborate the allegation. On August 7th, 2025, Officer Signoria submitted an information report outlining his involvement of the alleged incident. Officer Signoria recalls vulgar language being used and directed towards Coburger, but could not identify who said what. The allegation is substantiated, but due to no aggressor being able to be positively identified, and Coburger saying he feels safe to remain on Tier 2 and J Block, no further actions were taken. Okay, I'm about to let you guys go because I got to go get ready, but get a shower and stuff. But let's just do a little scrolling past. Oh God, look at these pictures. Oh my God. What the? What is this? Big trash bag. Some water. A mixer. Water bottle and a bowl. Ew. Ew, ew, ew. Ew, ew, ew. Brian C. Coburger, 7/11/22. What is that? Like, what the fuck? Why is he sitting around taking these pictures of himself? I just like this one. Who the hell you saluting to? You look like a okay. What the? I don't think I ever saw that. What are you doing with your hand? Is that necessary to flex? Look at that. He's so gross looking, and I just have to make fun of him a little bit. I miss making fun of Tisha, okay? He's trying to be the movie American Psycho flexing, in my opinion. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Even the mother stuff, which Bendy called from the beginning, but let's see. Is this it? I've never seen that. I've seen Norman Bates, but I've never seen American Psycho. But the hand, like, I'm sorry, you're obviously a person who doesn't, like, I don't know. I can't see any, like, man that I know flexing like that with the handle, like, curled up and awkward. I don't know. It's just something that I don't like about that. You can't be listening to Bendy. She's nuts. Look at this, Jen. Why is his hand like this? Even the slicked back hair. I never saw this one. Ew, 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 ew again. Yeah. They talk about the finger wound, which I had seen the other picture where it's bandaged. Is it that one there? Not that one. Oh, this one. Is that it on the knuckle? I think so. He had that wound in that first picture right after the murders. So much yikes on bikes. Tony, I want to watch it now. Yeah, he's, ugh. I'm sorry, but I'm not trying to be mean, but then again, I am. Bendy, I got to tell you, I did a request for any recent incident reports and kites and disciplinary actions and reports. This face, like, dude, you are such a creep. Hey, happy Halloween. Yeah, I think the skin is just from all the weight loss. He's terrifying there, but also he's such a bitch and a wimp. Like, I'm sorry, but remember, wasn't it Alivea who said that if you didn't come at them in the middle of the night like a pedophile when they weren't expecting it, okay, they would have kicked your ass. What is it, Rainbow? What is it? What? Sorry, you guys, if you hear the dog growling. This is that picture right after his arrest. All right, just to show how ignorant people can be, let's just look at the comments because that's what we came here for. Let's just see. Oh, God. Donna Serafina. Wait a minute. She posted a link to her YouTube video under, oh, dear Lord. Okay. I've had it with social media today. I'm going to the damn green store. I'm getting out of here. No, I'm just kidding. I do hope to go to the store today, but done with social media for real. He thought he was smarter than everyone else. He'll get everything he deserves. He doesn't look like a ghost. Let's see. Detective said he was putting his trash in the neighbor's trash. True. We haven't had any pro workers yet. Let's keep looking. Are you going to load? You know she has 0 home training and is acting like a fool. Well, I was waiting until, like, to see if anything came of it, and I was going to let you know, but we'll see. I'm sure I really want to see the disciplinary report that they were so proud we didn't see. Hey, Coffee. We're just about to go. Quit talking about him. Wow, not too much. All right, just a second. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Maybe we'll start doing more daytime lives, but I really want to get a schedule and I'll post it. The problem is, like, with football, because I'd like to do like a Monday through Friday schedule. And then you guys know you don't have to like worry about notifications, alerts. You know, you always know at this time, if you're bored and you need something to do, this will be on. That's my goal, but I just don't know exactly what times and with what dates are going to work the best. So. Wait a minute. It blows me away that the media is ignoring the facts like these, thanks to Jay Embry, and that Brian Koberger is an innocent man in the Idaho 4, that Ellie got his name from Brent Kopacka's phone, and Ellie manufactured the whole thing, and Bethany and Dylan were never in the house but at a hotel. Come to My Room by Bethany was not in the house. She had family in town because it was family weekend. Hey, media, start reporting the facts. Because she said, come to my room, that means a hotel room. It couldn't possibly mean like her room in the house. This is a whole long post taken up for, It amazes me how many people say, yeah, they think he did it, when they literally haven't even did a deep dive into the case. Maybe my woman's intuition don't lie. And the very first time I ever saw a picture of the guy, my intuition was like, he's being framed. Well, sorry, but in true crime, you can't fucking just go off your intuition, dumbass. Sorry, maybe I should take it a little. Let me just dial it back a little bit. Oh, I'm not even showing y'all. Good. So the person's name isn't on here. Here. I mean, think about it. If you were innocent, would you do what he did? You would definitely waive your right to a speedy trial because you would want them to find more evidence of your innocence. Everyone is literally burning this man at the stake for his Google searches, but he was a criminology student, so of course he was the type to study serial killers. I want to go into criminology, and I do extensive research trying to figure out the way the mind of a killer or just a psychopath in general. When have you ever heard of 4 people being brutally slayed? Nobody heard a single noise, but they constantly were getting called in for noise complaints for music. It was so bad the literal was bleeding. It was so bad the literal was bleeding. And in a case like this, why would you destroy the crime scene before the trial even happens? And that is not me. They literally say it was so bad the literal was bleeding. I'll tell you why. It's because that held evidence that didn't commit the crime. I feel like I'm reading Letitia's reports. Never in my life have I seen a college slaying of 4 students, and the only evidence they have on their alleged suspect is touch DNA on a knife sheath. I'm sorry, but you want me to possibly sentence of man to death over a partial fingerprint on a knife sheath? Normally, I would say, okay, but they found blood evidence of 2 unidentified males, one on a railing to the stairs and one somewhere else. When they asked prosecution why they weren't using the blood DNA evidence, they said because it could ruin their case against Koberger. Blood doesn't lie, and a knife sheath could easily be planted. He was a criminology student, for God's sake. You know that his professor had to have some of his DNA because they do studies like that all the time. Now, his criminology professor must have had a sample of his DNA, right? Because they do studies like that all the time. Pointer lover, thank you. We love Spicy Alex. Thank you, Pointer lover, so much. Thank you. The professor, this is what I mean. This is why her sister feels she has to clarify everything, because these idiots, they will take anything and run with it. And they will literally, it's like they forget this is real life. There are victims, families, like maybe, I don't know. So she wants to clarify and stop some of the misinformation. Let me read the rest and then we'll be done. This is just a perfect example of idiocracy in this case. So his professor may have planted his DNA on the sheath because they do studies like that. When do criminology students take their own DNA for samples for their professor? Maybe they do. I doubt it. And doubt the I don't know. I just doubt they have like a whole system in there of everyone's DNA. Okay. But again, I guess I'm not a criminology student. But the main reason I believe he is innocent is because the good old FBI broke their own rule and illegally seized his father's DNA results from a company like 23andMe. No search warrant. They literally sat outside his dad's house, collected a water bottle from their trash, ran the DNA against a profile his dad had paid to have his DNA results for ancestry reasons. Pause. That is not true. The FBI did not break their own rule. 23andMe broke their own rule, or whatever ancestral company it was, whatever. They broke their own rule. It was against their guidelines or their rules to do that, not the FBI's, okay? Do you guys see all the weird inconsistencies going on? The fact they've had multiple Dateline episodes and some even had misinformation about the case in them. How can he have a fair trial of his peers when the entire world is already convinced he's guilty and they don't even have all the facts? I've been watching true crime since I was in my mom's womb, and y'all want to seriously A, destroy the crime scene before trial, B, illegally seize and run DNA without a warrant, C, sent off Koberger's blood for DNA samples and it came back doubled in size, which generally means that the DNA was tampered with. And now they won't even let his lawyers see the DNA? How do you know that? D, their surviving roommates didn't hear 4 people being brutally killed, but Dylan Mortensen literally sent a text at the same time that they were being killed. I don't remember that text specifically. If it exists, you guys feel free to let me know, but they did hear things. Duh. It was literally talked about. They heard loud noises. They heard yelling. They heard running. They heard the dog. They heard a bang. They saw a flash. They did hear things, but okay. All I know is these 4 young adults will not have justice if the wrong person is convicted and the true killer walks free. Pretty weird how Koberger lives in Pennsylvania, but he got pinned to be their guy. His cell phone records showed he was near the house before, but never in the house. That's not true. You don't know that. His phone shook hands with their Wi-Fi. That could have been in or out of the house. You don't know, but he was close enough he could have connected if he wanted to and had the password. Let me continue. Whoever did it was obsessed with and stalking Kaylee, I do believe, though. She got the worst of it, the most brutal attack of all 4. I don't know what happened on 11/13. See, this is why her sister wants to speak out, because you're literally using her name, talking about what happened to her, how brutal it was, and you can't even get the facts straight. And if you're going to say a person is innocent of something like this after they have themselves said they're guilty, you should probably at least know the facts and get those straight, like the facts you want to use for your argument. But this is how people do on social media, and it puts immense pressure on these families. It does. I don't know what happened on 11/13 at 1122 Kings Road, but I do know there's no way the other roommates didn't know. Hell, Dylan said she saw a masked man in all black at 4 a.m. and he whispered, "Shh, I'm here to help you." Who the fuck sees a stranger dressed like a burglar at 4 a.m. and doesn't call the cops? With all the evidence, you'll never convince me she didn't hear or didn't know or wasn't a part of it. If they held Karen Reed for 4 years on a murder she didn't commit, but another cop on the force did, and they framed Karen to protect their brotherhood, it's safe to say they would definitely protect their own from such a heinous, horrible crime like this. I'll add details as I learn them, y'all. Or wait, I'm sorry. I'll add details as learn them, y'all. But remember, he's innocent until proven guilty. And never think that the same ones who sign up to serve and protect can't be evil and sadistic. They absolutely can. And a lot of times, the badge is what gave them the power trip to begin with. Like, are you serious? That is why. This is why, you know. All right, let me show you guys the pictures that Tess sent of how beautiful it is there in the fall. Our leaves have not started like changing colors like that yet here, but in West Virginia, it was the same way. You just drive through the mountains and oh my God, it was gorgeous. Even though I have a little bit of, I don't like the fall or the winter. It just, we talked about it at the beginning of the live if you missed it, but I want to show you because you guys were in the chat talking about it and wanted to see it. Let's see. Hold on. Wow, gorgeous. Very beautiful for sure. Oh my gosh, how cool with all the little hills and stuff. Whoa, music just played in my ear. I still have a playlist up from bedtime. The kids don't do lullabies anymore, okay? They do old 90s alternative rock. But yeah, it's really beautiful there, Tess. Well, you guys, what are you doing today? I'm going to let you guys go so I can go do stuff, but what are you doing? Bill Thompson should have tied up loose ends before plea, and the roommates wouldn't be attacked so much, in my opinion. Koberger had no connection to anyone in the house. People keep ignoring that. I agree. He should have. He really, really should have. But Kimberly says, I love fall. Coffee's doing homework. Oh, thank you, Tess. Steven's doing nothing. I can't and won't blame Dylan and Bethany. Pointer lover, I have seen you in the chats fighting with the pro burgers, and you've probably seen me. It's so frustrating. At this point, I will not even fight with them. I don't care. But anybody who comes to my channel, you guys are my mods. I don't want anything deleted. They can come in here and talk shit about me. But if they talk shit about those girls, I want their asses gone. Now, questioning in a respectful way, this or that is fine. I get that. Plenty of my own friends even have had questions. But the way that they attack and blame and make up rumors and lie, and no, stay the hell away from me. That's a lot of the reason we haven't talked about this so much. Oh, cool, Kimberly. Yeah, the North Carolina mountains probably have changed yet, but coastal North Carolina, which is where I live, the leaves are still green. Let me look. Yeah, the leaves are green. They usually change like it in November. I mean, it's like going to be 75 today. So it's just like cold in the morning. Like I was talking about you guys earlier, like that crisp, cold feeling in the morning. Ugh. Read my first comment. Let me see. I need to move to Florida, but I can't leave my mom and dad. They need me. They need too much help, and I need them. Kids need them. But I do love it. I mean, I will say this. In where we live, it doesn't snow. Last year, we got a little bit of like flurries and stuff, but the couple years before that I've been here, we haven't had any snow. Usually it's about 55 degrees in the winter, which I can handle that too. Now, some nights it gets pretty cold, and I guess you have your cold years, your warm years, that kind of thing. But I love it where I live. Like, my life has just dramatically gotten so much better being here. So. Many years ago, a man broke into my house. I hid in a closet for 5 hours and didn't call 911. I had a phone and a gun with me in the closet. I did not know that, Pointer lover. I was so scared. I was frozen for hours. Oh my God. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I know that was scary as hell. Did you just not want to make noise and that's why? Oh, yesterday I went kayaking, you guys. I found the most beautiful piece of driftwood. It's like oh my gosh, those trees that grow in the water, they have these knees on them, and they're illegal to cut here in North Carolina. And one broke. I can't think of the name of the tree, but I found one yesterday floating on the water, and it's really pretty. It's outside drying out. My mom loves driftwood. That is freaking scary. I can't even tell you why my brain was not working. Well, there you go. There is the perfect example, and I cannot believe I didn't know that. The 3 or 4 years we've been friends, and you've been modding here, and I just cannot believe that. All the conversations that we've had. I mean, I know I don't go live that much now, people who are newer to my channel, but I used to go every day. And we had a lot of big chats for a long time, and Pointer lover, you've always been part of it, and I just cannot believe I didn't know that or see it somewhere in one of these like chats. I'm so sorry, but also I bet you that freaking really makes you see what happened to Bethany and Dylan totally different, you know? Wisconsin. Or I'm sorry, Minnesota. Why did I say Wisconsin? Northwest Wisconsin. It is, yeah, on the border of Minnesota. There we go. That's why. This is why I fight with people over those girls. I don't blame you. And I'm so sorry. And I didn't see it. And thank you for sharing that, because, yeah, you don't have to share that kind of stuff, but that is just terrifying. And it does make sense. Yeah, Kim has a great point. People don't know what fear does to the body. It's paralyzing. It's numbing. It can be like a freaking memory eraser, like Men in Black. You know what I mean? They're trauma and fear. And if you haven't ever experienced either one of those things, then God, you're lucky, and be grateful and just move on through life thankful of that. But don't spend your time judging other people who have and saying what they should have done, Dude, what a good live though today. Like, I have enjoyed hanging out with y'all so much and just talking through these videos and this case, and I miss it so much. So thank you for being here with me and talking about it all. I'm going to edit that video like here in just a second before I get ready. And then I have some things to do. So I think I might post both videos today though. Please, like I said, if you support me, support my channel. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, like this video, and join me on this like journey of discussions about Kayda Scott, because she deserves it too. All these beautiful kids that had their lives taken in Idaho I have to believe that they deserve the attention. They deserve the whole world to stop what they're doing and pay attention. So don't get me wrong, but so does every other victim of violent crime, right? And this young woman, Kayda, I've been covering her. I've got a couple live streams up. There will be a couple videos today. She went missing a couple weeks ago. She was just found a couple of days ago, and she was found deceased. And she was actually found by the community. They alerted the police. She had been complaining about harassing phone calls from this guy, Keon King. Keon has several other victims. He should not be free. He should have never been walking in like society with the public, because he had just kidnapped another girl, and she videoed him peeking through her windows, and she didn't show up for a hearing, and they dropped it, which they didn't need to. They had video evidence. He also has protection from abuse, like I said earlier, not to be repetitive, but I know people come in and out. And he's got other charges. In the video of him at the girl's window, he's like doing like martial arts as if he's going to kick in her window. And then he comes and he stares through it. It's terrifying and scary. And there's so much stuff coming out. Well, now one of his friends is speaking out. She's the neighbor of Kayda's, and she's friends with Kayda's little sister. She said a couple days before Kayda went missing, Keon started asking her, hey, what do you know about Kayda? Where she live? This, that, asking questions. There's so much coming out, and that girl refused to go to police. And then her friends started coming out. Now she's came out. She even talked about not wanting to go to police. It's a whole thing, and it's interesting, but it's in the process, in the court process. I can't wait for the preliminary hearing. They plan on putting on a lot of evidence, according to them at the press conference. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot to dig through. She's a beautiful girl. She was hopeful to be Miss USA. So if you want to support the channel, a great way to do that would be go check out that video. Even, you know what? Don't even watch my shit. Just follow the case. You don't have to go check out my video. Go learn about the case. That would mean so much to me. So anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for everything. I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with me today. It's been a long one. Stay tuned for those videos. Yes, Kim, her aunt on TikTok claiming to be a psychic. I was bitching about that earlier, talking about visions. Oh God, TikTok. I was all down it last night watching like hours and hours of Kayda videos. A lot of the people in the town are out filming, searching and stuff like that. And I watched a couple of the aunt's videos and other psychics too. They're all wrong. They're just lying, trying to get some attention because on TikTok, her case has blown up. I haven't talked about it on my TikTok. I should post my videos there too, but I might. But it's huge over there, and especially like Philadelphia TikTok. There's a lot of like locals talking. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Yesterday, I seen a local person who said, his mom is Raylonda King, who works at blah, blah, blah. Call it. Get her ass kicked out the building. His dad is so-and-so who does this and this. Call him. He has 8 brothers. You know what they look like? Send me their picture because I'm going to post it. Like, they are mad. The community is mad. They feel Kata was failed, and they're going to the extent of even wanting to, harass Keon's family, which I don't think that's right either. They don't have no part in this, but it's a whole situation. I want to keep talking about it, so go check it out. And yeah, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate y'all. Have a great day, and I'm with 7. Don't forget to tell those closest to you you love them. You never know. Life is short. It's fragile. You never know when someone might get in a car and not come home or have a heart attack or anything like that. I think about that all the time, and I think it's important to keep in mind. So yeah, I agree with you, 7. But anyways, all right, you guys have a good day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.